Hey Leo, it's Jack. Here's my thought dump on business. It's something that I've just been really passionate about. I believe it's just one of the earliest passions that I've had. It's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, just another long monologue on my thoughts on business. So what I do, I run a small company called Embro Labs, and we're a distributed team. And what we do is it's a company that creates companies. So it's a venture studio or a product studio, but we create a bunch of products, most of the time consumer software, and we launch them very quickly. And if it does well, if each product does well, then we would spin them out into its own business, raise money separately from outside investors, and then kind of repeat the process with multiple businesses. So we're really I really enjoy creating things from the beginning, like from scratch. And again, I think it's similar to everything else that I like to do, but just like making new things. The only difference is that with business, it's something that you don't really, it's continual, like it never ends. A successful business will always continue to evolve based on customer feedback and according to trends. And so that's the biggest difference with something like art, where if I get an idea and I create it, then I generally don't go back and edit it. Same thing with film. If it's something that's been finished or released, you don't really go back and change it, right? So I view that as a challenge, and it's constantly evolving, and there's also competitors. So that's a fresh. It's something different than what I do with some of the other work. Now, I'll explain, I guess, just some of the core philosophies of business that I have learned and what I just go by. And I'm sure there's a lot more for me to learn. So it's honestly more about the future, like what's coming, rather than what I've done so far. But yeah, I'll just explain some of that, and maybe just explaining a little bit about how I got here. So first, I believe business is at its core solving someone's problem. So the bigger the problem you're solving, and the more problem the bigger the problem you're solving, and the more people that experience the problem you're solving, it just equals the more successful the business is going to be that you have. So if you look at something like Google, it's kind of solving the problem of knowledge, curiosity. You want to find something out, like you want to know who the best dentist near you is, who the best lawyer is, like where the best place to get whatever you want to ask, Google has the answer to. So it's a very big problem, and hence explains how big they are. It's more specifically, when they initially started, it was the problem of accuracy and speed, that they were able to do better with their technology. And you look at something like Facebook, the reason it grew so fast and they're so big is it tackles an inherent human problem and need and desire of communication and kind of attention and all those things. So again, the bigger the problem you're solving, the more people that experience it, the more successful the business is going to be. Same thing with WhatsApp. People just need to communicate with each other. So it explains why they're such a big business. So with that being said, I always try to tackle big problems, and again, it's mostly consumer software and consumer products that I tackle, and also part of it is because I just really enjoy having my products being used by a lot of people. So that's the first half. Secondly, how I got here, I guess, it's funny, but in middle school, I built a lot of robots. I just had this weird obsession with robots, and especially with bipedal robots, like humanoid robots that move and walk like people. And I made my mind at the time that I wanted to create the world's biggest robotics company. And maybe I just watched too much iRobot or something, but this concept of running a business, specifically a robotics business, was just always on my mind. And since then, it's changed to software because it's more scalable, but that's always been there. And my first real business that I ran was in high school. I ran this company called Lab, and it was more so a nonprofit business, but I ran it like a startup. And we're all teenagers, and I made it a point to make it a very strict student-run organization. And it was a search engine that donated all of our profits to charity. So this is sort of inspired by another business that I had right before. Arguably, it was the first really, real tech, the first project that actually made me money. And at the time, there's this thing called the Google Custom Search Engine. So Google let you use their search engine, and it shared the revenue. So you could embed their search engine into your page, and you can customize how it looks. And then all the ads on the side, if people clicked on it, Google would make money, and then they would share a percentage of the profits, like 50% or something. So the first thing I did was a website called Malibu, and it was the Twilight Saga used to be very famous. It's kind of like the Harry Potter novel or series. I had nothing to do with it. I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't even read it. My sister liked it, so I built something for her. And as part of the hosting that I bought, they gave, or as part of the domain that I got or something, they gave me a $200 AdWords credit, just like a way to market websites. And I spent it, and I got a few people that came, and eventually it was a couple thousand people that came every month, and I was able to generate a few $100s per month, which at the time when I was like 13, 14 was a bit of money. So that was the second time I decided I want to be like an entrepreneur, and more specifically internet entrepreneur. I want to create the next Google. And I had this phase of getting really into search engines, so then I was like, why don't I just donate some of this money? Then isn't that incentive for people to come? Because it's really, you're almost hacking this business model where you can let people donate money without actually donating money. So I did that. And then in school, in college, I kind of assumed that, again, maybe I watched too much of history or like all these stories, but I assumed like when I was in school, I would find someone that I would like vibe with and start a business and like drop out together and build it into this huge business. But that wasn't the case. I went to school, and a lot of people were focused on school itself and getting good grades, and that, for me personally, it just wasn't for me. I don't even know what grades I got. I never even checked my grade reports, and I left after a couple of years, and I just thought I want to get away from here as much as possible and like actually learn by doing. And I moved to New York, worked at a couple different companies, and then eventually started. I started Ember Labs while in school. This is another story, but yeah. So what happened is I ran BanaLab, and then that eventually we had to shut down because all of our team members went to different schools. But I've always thought that it was a really effective business model that is quite scalable. And then one day I found this website that let you just click on a button. It just let you, every day you come to this website and you click on a button, and it would just take you to a different web page just filled with ads, like banner ads. And that would raise 1 penny or half a penny or something to charity. And the company was actually a for-profit business that just donated a percentage. And they had 40 million website visits per month. I mean, this is a huge volume, and I just, with no knowledge of, in my naivety, I still cold email a lot of people, but with no kind of expectation or whatnot, I just emailed them, and sure enough, the CEO or one of the marketing guys, top guys, emailed me back and said, hey, like we should talk about this. Because what I had proposed was, if you have all this traffic, you have this like kind of shitty business model of just like banner ads, and yes, you are making money, but you could make a lot more money with the search engine. So I emailed, and I initially just said, hey, I would do this for free. Like, I just want to make sure, I just think that I have this like model, and if it's paired with your traffic and with our technology or our platform, it would be able to donate a lot of money. So I did all these projections, and it was like we would donate close to like $2 million a year. And they were a for-profit business, so they got back to me, and they're like, technically, we can't not pay you. So I was like, okay, let's do a revenue shares thing. And then that eventually just turned into a contracting role, and I had to basically make an entity to get paid, and that's when Ember Labs was formed. And the initial idea was to make it a socially conscious, almost incubator product studio, where we would identify business models that let us donate money and just like raise, or just like help other people while also making a bit of money or something. I was always just trying to, like, at the time, find ways of donating more money. That was kind of what I was really into. Since then it shifted, but that's how Ember Lab started. And from that I think I made my first, that contract was about $20,000 or so, which was also a lot of money at the time. So that like helped me survive in New York. And in New York I met another co-founder for the business, and went through a crazy phase of launching a bunch of things. And it was a creative agency, and we did these crazy projects that got a lot of press, and I learned how to work with PR and how the media works at the time. And then eventually came back to doing Ember Labs just by myself and creating a bunch of products, which is really just what I love doing. And so at this point now I have four or five different projects that I concurrently run, and I don't do everything myself. I work with different partners, but the core service that we provide is really just the product in general. Everything from branding to art direction and the actual designing of the product, like user experience, user interface design, and then eventually development as well. So we kind of are the full stack of just creating a product, and then we would work with operational partners to run the business, and we would also come in with a little bit of capital and help fundraise as well. So that's where we're at. We're doing a lot of different products in travel, a couple of different things in food, like a point of sale system. But all in all, the core philosophy that drives all of our businesses is how do we make the most intuitive experience, and regardless of what technology is behind it. That should never be the case. Like, technology should never take the center stage. It should always be about the user experience. What is it helping the user do? Like one of the example is we're developing a product that we're developing a personalized speech. What do you call it? Like automatic speech recognition is a big problem that has existed for the last 20 years. Being able to transcribe what you're saying, because I personally think typing should be abolished. I think keyboards should go away and everything should be voice. But the problem is it's not very accurate. It's got an error rate that's significant. So what we're trying to do is use a lot of machine learning to create a personal voice model of each individual with their custom dictionary and the custom list of words and phrases that they use, and as well as the acoustic model that they use to really hone in on the error rate and be able to get rid of keyboards. And so everyone can just talk to each other and transcribe automatically. Anyway, that's an example of a product driven by not by technology but by user experience and by design. So that's what I will continue to do for a long time. And yeah, another thing is I really don't try to I really stay away from trying to reinvent the wheel. So with any type of product, I see what's working in a different market and then see how that could adapt into this current market or a different thing. And really, nothing is unique, truly unique, even with technology. It's just taking different pieces together from different parts and putting it together. So that's also how we're able to create products so quickly. The benchmark is, with any sort of Ember Labs product, I say we move at 4x speed. So God speed is what I call, light speed is what I call it, 4 times the speed of anything else. So if it takes a month for another product or a competitor to build a product, we need to do it within a week. If it takes them a year, 4 months, probably even less. So it's all about really the speed and iteration, and the fact that if you use extreme experimentation, you will eventually find your way to success. You just have to continue to just improve and improve and improve. It's all about this customer feedback. And I think that's another thing that gets overlooked a lot, is oftentimes the answer is just in front of you, right? It's like people, by its very nature of business, are solving people's problems or giving them what they want. And they're right there. You can just go and talk to them. Is this solving your problem? Like, what could improve? What do you like? And then you do more of it. What do you don't like? Do less of it. So I have to constantly remind myself that, because I definitely succumb to ignoring that advice myself. But as of now, just really doing it. It's twofold, the reasons for business. Number one is I really just enjoy it. I really like the idea of creating businesses and scaling them out, I guess, into things that everyone can use, and just having the products that I create be used by people and help solve problems. Number two is really generation of capital, not for personal wealth. I never see money as something that is, or I never see business as something that will help me gain personal wealth. That could be a byproduct of it, but really the main purpose of it is so that I have enough capital to create more things. So the end goal is always to create more. And I have all these big ideas, including other businesses, right, and other products, as well as art and all these things. They cost money, and I want to create really great things. And to do world-class things, you need world-class people, and world-class people cost world-class money. It just costs a lot of money. So if I made $50 million, I would spend $50 million or even more, $60 million of it on hiring people. So I really just see everything as just how do I make more money and generate more resources to create more things. But for the most part, I really enjoy what I do every day, and being able to meet other people out there and surround myself with other smarter people than I am, and being able to connect. So if I could picture an ideal scenario for Ember Labs, and because this is something I'll do for a very long time, like 50, 60, 70 years. As long as I'm alive, I'll continue to create new products and do this. And how I ideally view it is just this really creative lab where we have enough resources to just try, build a lot of, you never know until you try, and build it and launch it and see how it goes. And another thing I'd probably like to say is the way I approach these things, it's like a battlefield out there, right? It's like a bullet storm. And when you're talking about the open market, anyone can do whatever. They can always copy your idea and run with it. It's not illegal, right? It's a free-for-all. It's capitalism, I guess. And I see a lot of people that just prepare for weeks or months or years to try to like figure out the exact path through the bullet storm to not get hit. But I see it as something that you just have to fucking strap on a bulletproof vest and you just run through, right? You just expect to get hit. And I think whenever I do something, I just naturally assume that I'll be wrong the first time around, but you just bounce off enough walls to the point that you eventually get to where you want to go. So at that point, it's a resilience and patience game. Now, patience is something that I don't necessarily have a lot of, which is also the biggest problem that I have is I tend to, if I don't have a partner and if I don't have enough accountability, I tend to kind of jump between things very easily and things get left unfinished. So I have to admit that is just the biggest issue that I've had for a long time, but recently I've been able to sort of ease that by working with partners and making sure that I'm not the only person that is accountable for the success of a business. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm just excited to see all the different people that I'll meet, and who knows what all the different types of products that I will be creating at Ember Labs and what's to come. But yeah, it's really about the future, not about what we've done in the past. All of it adds up, but I just have to keep on pushing, I guess. And right now, that is what I want to document with this film. Is I may not be Evan Spiegel or I don't know, like Zuckerberg now, or like I may never be. Who knows? But it's the journey of like at least trying and getting there, and trying very hard. That hopefully I may be able to capture. So I just have to dive back in.